All right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS. This is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 260. This show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get on with the show, I want to invite each and every one of you to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS. This is awesome. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PlayStation Network, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. And as always, you can write our show. We have a Gmail account, so we're going old school. PS, this is awesome at gmail.com. And most importantly, don't forget to share the show with your friends, leave comments, rate our podcast as you see fit, and help us get into that algorithm so everybody can enjoy this show like you are today. And as a reminder, we're a video podcast, so you can watch our show if you prefer on the YouTube channel. And for new and or longtime listeners, we have a Patreon. You can support us for $1 a month. The level's called the one and only $1 Club. So you can go to patreon.com/PS. This is awesome. You can become a $1 patron of our show. We'll give you a free shout out on the podcast. And we'll also send you one of these awesome stickers. So you'll get one of those in the mail like a regular human being and the way that things were at one point in the world where we used mail. So that's kind of cool. You get something you can hang on to for $1 a month. So we appreciate you. And with that out of the way, Jake, what the hell's going on today? How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't understand how. So the printer, meaning using your computer to print out papers, has been around for literally 50 years. And still, to this day, it's one of the most unreliable pieces of fucking technology on the planet. There is a reason why Office Space, the movie, made such a big scene about how they go take the copier out to the fucking field and smash it with baseball bats.
It. Yeah.
It's because, for whatever reason, there might be something about like mechanically how they work, or maybe something to do with how the software works, how it formats the document to send it to the printer. I don't know. But to this day, I have trouble getting shit to fucking print out of printers, and it drives me absolutely apeshit.
Yeah.
And even like, we have really expensive printers at work. Mm-hmm. And all the time I have to like delete it from my computer and re-add it. And now it'll accept it and like all this fucking shit. And it's like, I honestly wonder if there's like collusion between IT departments and printer companies to like make them fucking useless. That way the IT departments have something to do all day long.
They can both stay relevant. Yeah. Yeah, it's
basically
weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
it makes me so mad. All I want to do is print out my fucking registration forms for my vehicles.
Sure.
But I can't because my printer doesn't fucking work. It keeps saying that there's another computer talking to it. No other computer in my house is connected to the printer. What the fuck does that mean? I have no idea. Fuck printers.
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you this. We don't even have a printer at our house. And I print so it seems archaic to work that way. But first off, if I'm going to spend money on a printer, I'm going to make sure I have a printer that's going to do everything that I would ever want it to do, because I don't want something that's just going to print paper. Because like I do board gaming and stuff, so if I'm going to get, if I ever need to like print off lyric sheets for an album or something, I want something fucking high quality, right? Something that can run that kind of shit. So if I get a printer, I'm going all in. But so what I do is, my folks are still both very much alive, and they don't live far from me. So in situations like yours, it's hilarious because their computers are just shitty at my parents' house, right? Like my dad's desktop has like 1,000, thumbnails on it, like in like shortcuts, and I don't know what's what. He has like 4 external hard drives. I tried to set him up with the different hard drives so that he can organize his photos and his blah, 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 blah. But every time I go over there, his computer runs slower than probably a PlayStation 1. And it's a new computer. It's a newer, but it just runs like garbage. Like it sucks. My mom has this laptop, and hers actually runs half decent. But it's just like every Christmas we're like, should we get that a new computer? And it's like, no, she's just gonna fucking ruin it. Like, if anything, just get him a Mac and show him how to use a Mac, because then you can't like ruin that. But his computers are always so slow, and he's not computer literate. He's just of a different era, right? So the problem is I have to use their printer once in a while to print off like my registration shit, or if it's something like for taxes or something, I got to print off, like I send you guys those 1099s. Sometimes I go over there to print it. And the funniest thing in the world is I always have trouble, like you're saying. If we've ever owned a printer, it's been an issue. Printers at work are always issues. Not only, I always have these weird requirements for printers. Like I don't want a border sometimes on my pages. Like in a lot of printers can't do borderless printing, and it's like, why the fuck not? Just change the way that it feeds the paper through. Like, it should know how to do this, but you can't do it on some. But I've always had issues with the printers I've owned. But every single time I go to my parents' house, they have, I don't know what kind of printer it is, but it is open to accepting jobs via their internet connection wirelessly. I'll have my shit on my iPhone. I literally walk in, I click print, and their printer always comes up, and I just say select printer, and I click print on my phone. Perfect every time. And I have no idea what is going on there, but it works. So I don't know if I can credit the iPhone or if I can credit their network at their house. Something is perfect with my phone and the connection to their printer wirelessly. Never once had an issue.
You just buy the same printer that they have.
It's old. It's old. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's really old. It's an old printer, but it just works perfectly. So, with a not wired connection. Now, what's interesting is I believe they have problems printing once in a while with like the wired connection, which is so fucking. You're right. They're so screwy. Printers suck. I don't like them, but that's my printer story for you. But outside of that, you doing all right? I'm sorry you can't get what you need printed.
Yeah, fine. Just, I don't know. Adulting.
Dude, every Black Friday, I look for printers. And then like you find like a really good deal on a printer, and then not only do the reviews of the printer review the printer, but they also review the ink that's required, right? So then you go into this deep dark dive down, like, these ones have the refillable cartridges, these ones have the eco-friendly inks, these ones have this, these ones have each color separated, this one just comes in one big fucking box, and it's just like, that's where they get you. And then some have subscription programs now for the ink that like it's free refills or something for like the first year, and it's just like, but the printer's like $20, and then you find out like after that year's over, like the ink's gonna cost like $150 to replace, and it's just like, I'm not getting involved in this world. Like, I'm just gonna keep printing wirelessly at my parents' for as long as I can.
You're just gonna keep being a child, is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100.
Go to mom and dad's house.
Well, the thing is, they appreciate the visit. They do. They come to our concerts from time to time. Most of the time, they're showing up at concerts, but they do like me to pop by. So,
I'll tell you this. If you're not spending a good amount of money on a proper laser printer, it doesn't fucking matter what printer you buy. I'm just telling you right now. It literally doesn't matter if you spend $30 on a printer or you spend $200 on a printer. It doesn't fucking matter. Anything less than like a proper, like, good commercial grade laser printer is gonna be equally as fucking garbage. The only thing, like you said, that you really have to look at is, how much is the ink gonna cost? Mm-hmm. But in my experience, it seems like it all fucking costs a lot, so it doesn't really matter. Really, what you want to look at is less how much the ink costs, more so how long the ink lasts.
Right.
Because like, an ink cartridge for a Canon printer versus a fucking Lexmark or whatever, I mean, they're both going to be like $40 for an ink cartridge.
Jesus, yeah, it's unbelievable.
But if the Lexmark lasts, twice as long, then I guess it really doesn't matter. I don't know. Printers are just absolutely stupid. We can stop talking about them.
Yeah. Well, we are going to talk about video games, but there's not a whole lot going on in my world, but I have a fun story for you because 3D printing comes up a lot on the podcast. We have listeners who are interested in it. And before we get into PlayStation talk, I just want to show real quick. I'm going to give a little bit. So this game back here, it's been in almost every video. This is Cursed City. This is the Warhammer game. It's called Warhammer Quest Cursed City. And a lot of the minis, those who are watching the podcast will be able to see, like, this is a 3D printed, like, little gargoyle guy I made. Like, it's pretty cool. It's kind of blurry, but long story short, like, when I have my first Cursed City game, when I have the first one, every single mini is going to be painted to perfection. It's going to be a bit of an expose, I really want to build out the setting a little bit. So, for instance, I have these are some 3D, just for like flair, because it all takes base. This whole game takes place on like essentially a town called Ulfenkarn, in which a vampire has taken over, and the citizens and the denizens of the city have to pay a blood tithe anytime they do something wrong. And they have these little places set up where they get bled out for a little bit. It's like their punishment. So the vampires of the city can just use it and drink it at their own leisure. So it's a real messed up place. It used to be a place of a lot of pride, but it got taken over by vampires. So you're this gangly group of dudes and women and fighters and warriors and ogres. And there's actually one character who's a guy you can play. He's a corpse eater. He eats dead people. That's what he eats. But he's this big Brutus, like kind of fucking big guy with a big maul, and he's a badass. They all come together for their own personal reasons to retake the city, right? There's like a wizard who like needs to like do his studies there for whatever reason. There's like some sort of power draw there that he needs to be there, but there's a curfew and you're not allowed to go out. So the idea of this game, it's a co-op game, is that all of your people are running through the streets and the alleys, and you're going through and you're taking out the undead, and you're going on these headhunter missions, and you're trying to find some of these lieutenants of the main vampire and take them out. And then it leads to like this ultimate battle, right? Which is actually really cool. And the game mechanics are really cool. But what I've seen on Reddit is like a lot of people, because it isn't a board, it's a bunch of little intersecting cardboard pieces that create the map on each one. And a lot of people put like a lot of flair in between, right? So I found these little guys here. You probably can't see them very well, but it's like two dudes like staked up on a stake, and it looks like they're getting burnt to a crisp. So like these little, it's kind of gross, but like these little setting things. And then this is going to be the big one. This is going to be the centerpiece. I've been 3D printing this on my resin printer, and it's going to be a broken down cathedral. And this is the top of the bell tower, and it's going to be fucking dope. And it's going to be on the table, and it's just going to help paint setting, right? But when you have all this shit in place, my goal is to have such a fun time that everyone that I invite will want to come back for the next one. Because oftentimes with these, you don't get to play the whole fucking thing through. People get bored. Anyways, I'm going to put all the time in on the front end, make it really fun, make the expose really good, and then hopefully we can keep the game going. But my story is that resin bottles cost for like a kilogram, so 1,000 milligrams is a kilogram. So a kilogram of resin bottle is about yay big. And it's about 35
1,000 milligrams is a gram.
Well, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But it's 1,000 of something and 1 of something else. But it's not a huge bottle, but it's like $35 for a bottle of this resin. So as you can imagine, like I printed this little vampire guy, right? Real tiny. Doesn't cost a lot of money to print that. But when you're printing, this is like the roof to something, this shit can cost a lot of money to do at home. So the difference is I have a resin printer, which is like all about these tiny things. I have no way to print this cathedral well, right? But I do have a friend, and he has a filament-based printer, and the spools of filament are only $15 a piece, and they go forever. And I was like, hey, I have the files. Can you print the cathedral for me, like the big body of the thing? I'll finish up the bell tower. You do the rest. It won't be as high quality, but it'll still be good enough. Paint it up. And the story is that he tried it, and it's turning out really good. So he's really excited about it. I don't know if you know Ben or not, but Ben's printing it, and he's been keeping me in touch. And the cool thing about those filament printers is whatever, he has an Ender. I don't know what version he has, but it has a time-lapse camera built into it so that you can monitor the progress from like an app to make sure. Because like if those things fail print, like because what it does is it lays down hot plastic. and it builds upward instead of reductive, like where mine is, it pulls it out of the goop. This throws the goop down. That's why it's not as detailed, because you're adding instead of subtracting. So, but the print I asked him to do, I didn't realize how long it was going to take. And if I would have done it, I would have had to have like piecemealed it into segments like this on my build plate. Like this is like one wall for my bell tower, and then they come together and it forms like a thing. He can print the room all at once. And I didn't realize that. So he sends me a picture and he goes, well, we'll know in 23 hours. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's a 23-hour print for this room that I want. And I'm like, dude, I am so sorry. It takes 3 hours for me to print something here. I had no idea it was going to take that long. And he goes, oh, dude, it'll be fine as long as it doesn't fail, because if it fails, it doesn't know that it fails and you're sleeping or something, and it's just still just laying this goop down. So if things don't stack right, it just creates this ball of nasty plastic. It's really hard to clean up. Good news is, success for the first room. So, but where I was going, it has a time lapse so that if you're out of the house or whatever, you can just check your app and make sure. And it's a really cool, just progress shots throughout the 20+ hour print, just to make sure something is good. And then you can remote just turn it off if it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Really interesting 3D printing, and it makes me actually want to get a filament printer also and make some practical shit, some bigger things. There were these Witcher bookends that I wanted to print, and just can't do it on my printer. But with a filament printer, I could. Anyways, that's my story. I'm so excited about the progress I'm making on this game. One Up by Land only has 3 more songs left. I did a song on Friday. Vocals, my voice died that night, and it's coming back, so I may try to do another one this evening, but I doubt it because we're doing birthday stuff. My wife's birthday was yesterday. We hung out for most of the day. Then she had a girl party. All of her friends from, I don't know, she keeps in touch with all of her elementary school friends, and she's been in touch with them forever. And they have this weird pact of girls that just hang out all the time, and they all came over, so I retreated and just left the house for a bit yesterday so they could do their thing. But yeah, so we're gonna be hanging out today later, but I will try to get more of the One Up My Land stuff done. But that out of the way, for those who don't know, One Up My Land's a punk rock band I play in. We have 2 records on Spotify, iTunes, or whatever. If you guys want to check it out, it's on there. But how about we, Jake, talk about PlayStation, the real reason that we're here today. And I'm sorry I got kind of excited about the 3D printing thing. I'm just really jazzed about it. So, Jake, games that we're playing, I have been, like sometimes you feel the pendulum swinging back in your favor, like in life. Like sometimes like you're down, you feel like you're knocked down a little bit, like you're not making progress. I was spinning my wheels for so long. I don't know if it was seasonal depression or what it was, but I'm feeling the pendulum swing in my favor again, and I'm getting more motivation. I'm back on a better diet. I'm just feeling better about life. I beat Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I downloaded and beat Deliver Us the Moon, which is that game. And the reason I picked that game was because it was like 6 hours to beat, but done well. I can't remember who the developer was, but the sequel just got a new trailer. It's called Deliver Us Mars, and that comes out February 23rd. Deliver Us the Moon, the story goes like this. We've heard this story before, but there's a slight variant to it. Earth is essentially out of resources. They send a way to somehow not colonize the moon, but mine for this resource that produces energy at Earth. So they send a group of people out there, and to keep this link going, it's like a satellite relay that relays this energy to Earth. Long story short, the stuff quits coming to Earth, and as a result, they can't keep the energy of Earth going. So there's a massive power outages. Dust storms, sandstorms take over Earth, and essentially humanity gives up and everybody's living in bunkers. And they don't have enough energy to even reach out to the people on the moon, so they have no idea what the hell happened on the moon. They just know that the signal quit coming. So there's like this weird rogue faction that decided to like take over, and like smart people trained to send one more person to the moon to reestablish this link and save humans. So you are that person. You go on this spaceship, and it's kind of cool because it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle game, but it's also like story driven. You get on the spaceship and then you kind of have to do the sequence and stuff. And then you launch into outer space, and there's some like zero G moments that are like, wow, this is fucking rad and dope. And then there's some oxygen. There's like a mini oxygen chamber. We got to make sure like some areas before you get airlocked, you can run out of oxygen. You're trying to solve puzzles, and your oxygen meter's going down. And you're trying to figure out the puzzle before you die. It's a really cool game. Ultimately, it was a nice playthrough. And there aren't really enemies per se. You just kind of learn the story of what happened to the people that were on the moon and why the energy quit coming to Earth. And it's your job then to get these relay towers and stuff back on track and get the signal back, send the resources back to Earth, hoping that there's still people down there that can use that energy and get Earth back on a better trajectory. And it's a good game. And it wasn't really, I mean, I wouldn't say like it's my favorite game, but for 5 or 6 hours, it's free on PS Extra. PS Plus Extra. I would recommend it. In watching the new trailer that just dropped, the sequel comes out February 2nd, makes me kind of happy that I played the first one, and I'm like, oh shit, this is cool. And now it's called Deliver Us Mars. So I don't know why they're going to Mars, but it makes me believe that the ending of the first game leaves a little bit to the imagination. Something maybe didn't occur that you might think have occurred, or maybe something. There's still trouble in the water. But yeah, so those are the two games I played. I'm not sure what I'm going to play next. Dead Space comes out real soon, and I'll probably just hang tight and just pick that up. That comes out on the 27th. And we're recording this on the 22nd. So probably not enough time for me to get into a new game. I should probably focus on the recordings for my music and maybe finishing up this awesome Cathedral in my spare time. And then when Dead Space comes out next week, just play that. Jake, what have you been playing?
So after, dude, they announced that Deliver Us Mars game fucking forever ago.
That's crazy.
I don't remember when it was, but I remember seeing a trailer for that and being like, oh, this looks cool. And then that was like a long time ago.
It's a small studio game. It's not like, AAA or anything.
But I played last week. I think I said that I had beaten Callisto Protocol, which was true. I put that down, and then I picked up that Children of Morta game, and it was pretty cool, but I didn't like the roguelike element aspect of it. And so I decided that it was time. I finally got around to playing Inside. I downloaded that from the PS Plus Extra catalog, and just because everybody's always talked about, Limbo was a really cool game, and Inside was the sequel to the team is, I believe, Playdead, and everyone talked about like how much better it is, how Inside is like such an amazing game.
Yeah.
So I decided to play it, and it's really good. It's not really like the type of game that I ordinarily would like to play anymore, just because it's mostly puzzle based and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the atmosphere and the kind of environment and everything is so wild that it like made me want to keep going, to like figure out what the fuck is this game, like where is it taking me, what am I even doing in here. And all the puzzles are based around this like weird like facility that is doing all these weird experiments and shit. And like have you played it?
No, I don't think I have. Maybe I did. Is this the one where you're just like a boy?
So you're a boy in Limbo, and then you're also a little boy in this one too. But in this one, you're like, the graphics are different. Like in Limbo, it was like very 2D, and it was like all shadows, black and gray and white. And this one is like,
I gotta Google it. Keep going.
It's a lot of black and white, but there's like some red, and like you have a red shirt on and stuff like that. But it's really cool. And actually the game, I'll be honest with you, the game is almost kind of scary. Like the atmosphere is very dark. Like this is a very mature kind of game. It's weird. like, because you're like this little boy running around, and the graphics are kind of cartoony, but like the themes and like some of the shit that happens is super dark. So I don't know, but it was really good. So I beat that, and then and like the thing that happens at like the end, like the last few puzzles, like you encounter this like main event, and then you have to do these like last few puzzles, and like the game kind of changes a little bit. It's just like really bananas.
Yeah.
But so I beat that, and then I started playing Mass Effect 3. So I'm like, I want to say, I think I'm like 7 hours into Mass Effect 3. So I've been playing it quite a bit.
Mass Effect 3, nice.
Yeah, and it's so good. I mean, I'm not really far enough to make any kind of definitive decision about it or whatever, but I honestly, at least so far, I'm personally enjoying it even more than Mass Effect 2. And just like it focuses more on the story, it focuses more on the kind of missions and the gameplay and stuff, and it doesn't really, you're not doing a lot of this inventory stuff and this scanning shit and mining for materials, at least not yet. But I'm like 7 hours into the game.
Right.
I think it would probably pick up or whatever. But it seems like it's focusing a lot more on like characters and story. And I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. I picked something other than the base soldier class this time, so it's changed the game a little bit for me. But I don't know. We need to do the Last of Us 2 spoiler cast, because
The Last of Us 2?
I want to kind of finish
Mass Effect 2.
Sorry, Mass Effect 2 spoiler cast, because I do want to kind of get this finished out. But I wanted to get through. I figured it's a good time. I was kind of in the mood. I'm going to play Mass Effect 3, get it done before assuming it's not like a total fucking train wreck. Hogwarts Legacy comes out in 2 or 3 weeks.
So does VR2,
so I'd like to
probably.
play that. VR2 doesn't come out till the end of February, but Hogwarts comes out. I think I saw it was like February 10th or something like that. So, yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Dude, that's awesome. I've completely forgot about Mass Effect 3, and I would like to get it and beat it, just so I can delete it from my console. But yeah, maybe. I mean, I can't beat that in a week. There's no way. So I don't know when to start that. If I'm going to play Dead Space, man,
I don't know. Play it after Dead Space.
Yeah, maybe that's the way to do it, because I don't know if there's anything directly coming out after Dead Space that I'm.
Because Dead Space might take you
a week or
10 or 15 hours to beat.
Yeah.
And, it's not one of those games that you like want to jump. I mean, maybe you will, but it's a survival horror game.
Yeah.
So for me personally, when I'm done with them, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm not going to go back and play it again.
Right.
And like all that shit, because it's a pretty stressful experience. So
very good.
Anyway.
Well, yeah. Very good. So let's get into some listener feedback here real quick. And not a lot on here, but I remembered that like you talked about something about Child of Morta. Maybe he mentions that in here. Oh, yeah, this is the one. So Play by Ken writes in, happy to hear. Play by Ken writes in, hey guys, still alive here because he lives out in the California area. We were worried about the flooding and making sure he was all right. He said that they had some time off together, he and his wife. So he's been, doing a lot of family stuff. So essentially a lot of rain in LA, but nothing to worry about. But he said, Jake, he had the same experience with Children of Morta. He writes, I think there's a great game there somewhere, but I lose interest with the roguelike gameplay. I probably put in 7 or 8 hours before deciding it wasn't a game for me. And he said, Fred, that unboxed PlayStation is great. It must be the smaller, slim style PS1, right? And he said, I think they're specifically called PS1. Yeah, you are right. That's what that one is. And then he also writes, I'm looking forward to watching The Last of Us HBO on HBO. Might even be able to get the wife watching it too, as she hates zombie-style stuff. But she liked watching the game. Hopefully they do it justice. Great episode again, guys. Here's to a great 23 for the show. Thanks so much, Played by Ken. Appreciate your tuning in and patronage and all that stuff. So yeah, here we are. It looks like he had the same experience that you had with Children of Morta. So I don't know. That's cool. He can relate. So nothing.
He is right though. I mean, it does seem like it could be an awesome game. I just don't give a shit about the roguelike stuff.
Yeah.
And we won't jump into it because I ranted about it last week. But.
So jumping in, piggybacking off of what Played by Ken said, I want to make an official announcement here on this podcast because it was kind of a last minute idea that we had. Jake and I are doing a Last of Us podcast called P.S. This is The Last of Us. And what it is a next day recap of our opinion on the TV series that is on HBO. So I would appreciate the listeners to tune in and check that out. I saw it as a good opportunity to maybe get what we do, the content that we do, into maybe some new eyes. And, if you're listening to this and you're a supporter of our podcast and you're interested or following the Last of Us HBO TV series, which I, at this point, would recommend it. I mean, the first episode was good. Please go check out our YouTube channel and listen to Jake and I have some commentary on the show. And we're going to do that again. We're going to release those every Monday evening. The show obviously airs Sunday nights. And just because of work schedules and stuff, it's only going to be a few weeks, until that show's over. But Jake and I have decided that we're going to try to churn that out every Monday with hopes of giving everybody a little more content and also maybe getting into the into the frame for a lot of other people. So make sure you're watching that. It did say that the first episode of The Last of Us had 4.7 million viewers when it streamed that night, and it broke HBO a little bit. Mine was really, really choppy at times, and my initial watch, and I heard that was happening for a lot of people, and then I read somewhere that the after the fact streaming was double or something like that. So this show's going to be a runaway hit probably, but I do have a news point and an interesting twist here that I think we need to talk about briefly. The original director of the game, Bruce Straley, not Neil Druckmann. Neil Druckmann was creative director. The director of The Last of Us was Bruce Straley, and he did an interview recently and indicated that he wasn't in the credits of the TV series at all. And I'm kind of two minds of this thing, but he used this as a reason to kind of support the unionization of video games in studios. And, clearly I've never met Bruce or I don't even really follow the guy on Twitter or anything, but he has moved away from Naughty Dog and he started his own studio. So he's separated from Naughty Dog Studios. His new studio is called Wildflower. So I want to chat real quick about this and just the entire concept of crediting people, because I feel like it's weird. And I want to quote Bruce Straley real quick in the interview that he gave. He said that, quote, "It's an argument for unionization that someone who was part of the co-creation of that world and those characters isn't getting a credit or a nickel for the work they put into it," end quote. My initial thought is, when I first just read the headline, I'm like, yeah, that kind of does suck. But then thinking about it is like, you were an employee of Naughty Dog when you made this fucking thing. You don't own the rights to this thing. Yeah, you were involved in the game, but you didn't go direct to TV series like Neil did. And, you left Naughty Dog knowing that was a job that you were working. I mean, we have to draw a line at some point. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times probably, and on such a smaller level, that I don't get credited for times when people listen to music that I've put out, and I probably should get at least a half a cent. It's impossible to rope this stuff in, and I don't know if he's upset that he's not getting credit or upset that he's not getting any of the residuals. And it's a weird stance. I think that he does deserve credit, maybe not in the end credits of the TV show, but, let's not forget about Bruce and what Bruce did for the game. I mean, this game wouldn't exist as it is today without him. So there's that argument to be made also. But as far as him getting a credit on the TV series, I don't know how that works, but I would imagine that he doesn't have any rights to it at all now that he's separated from Naughty Dog. His name could maybe ancillary be attached to something because he was involved in the making of a game over about 10 years ago that then got converted to a TV series that he had nothing to do with. I don't know. It just seems like a little bit of a stretch for me to include him on the HBO series TV credits. Jake?
I think I'm probably so here's my opinion. Bruce Straley has zero legs to stand on at all with this argument. And
right.
Because the thing is that this is not the Last of Us game. It's just the IP being adapted to a show. He doesn't have any ownership or rights over the IP. Sony has all of that. The only reason Neil is credited is because he was directly involved in the show. Not just the game, he was directly involved in the fucking show.
Yeah, he went and helped direct.
So, and Bruce Straley was credited on the game as he should have been. He was a major part of that game being successful, but he had no. Now maybe he was fucking involved in the TV show, and if that's the case, then yes, he should be credited. But I don't think he was involved at all, and so
he wasn't, as far as I understand. And his argument again is about unionization in the game world. I feel like there's a disconnect between games and TV shows here. It's all a Sony property.
That's the problem, is that they're not the same. It's not the same product.
Exactly.
In my opinion, what he's saying is that if Bruce Straley should be credited on the Last of Us TV show, then literally every single fucking person that was credited on the video game should also be credited on the TV show. That makes no sense at all.
Right.
Because they had no... think about, I mean, maybe we need to look at movies and stuff to see, if a TV adaptation of a movie happens, for example, let's say Ash versus the Evil Dead, right? Is a TV adaptation of an old movie franchise, The Evil Dead. Obviously, guys like Bruce Campbell and stuff are credited because they're in the fucking TV show. But I don't know that the TV show, I don't think that they have to literally credit every single fucking person that worked on the movie originally. It's just whoever is the rights holder of the movie gets to use it however they want, and only the people that work on it have to be credited for it unless there is some pre-existing arrangement or deal that says that this person who was originally the rights holder or originally the creator has to be credited on every single iteration of the work or whatever. The only reason why I brought up TV and movies is because those markets are unionized.
Right.
So if you look at that and you say, oh, well, this doesn't make sense in that area, why would it make sense in video games? I can totally understand an argument for unionization in games
100%.
And making sure that people that get credited when they work on it, because some studios have a really, really fucking harsh policy on how you get credited in a video game. I think Rockstar, for example, is really notorious with this. If you are not a part of Rockstar when the game goes gold, you are not in the credits. You could have worked 500 hours on the fucking next GTA game, but if you are not with the company when it goes gold, you do not get credited. That to me is kind of fucked up. But that is a far cry from what we're talking about here. We're talking about two completely different
is this kind of
products
similar
and two completely different markets.
Yeah. It just seemed like a strange... maybe he's just trying to be a trailblazer for unionization of video game studios. And the fact that he's so big on it, I also read somewhere that someone had indicated that his relationship with Naughty Dog and his relationship with Sony is quote unquote strained. So it starts making me wonder. I'm not going to character bash Bruce or anything, but maybe he's just a difficult guy to work with, right? Maybe he's just... Or I know he was really burnt out after The Last of Us and all the success that they had. And everyone was kind of like, oh, shit, why is Bruce leaving? That's weird. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say, but I work on a personal level. My job is unionized. So I know that the pros that can come with that, and I definitely understand the cons that can come with that. You know, and it's very difficult to work with some staff when you're fighting against a union on stuff, and you're trying to get somebody fired, or you're trying to get somebody let go, or you're arguing about some petty shit, and the union is there nonstop, just like, you know, hammering down. Well, no, they're in the union. We're going to defend it. But yeah, it was like, but this person literally stole from the company, and they're like, well, let's not say steal. You know what I mean? Did they really steal? Was it intentional? You know, shit like that can happen. And then the union just seemingly blanket protects everybody, in my experience. And that's when a union goes really, really crazy. I mean, I believe in fair wages. I believe in everybody who's an employee of a company should be protected. You should have rights as an employee. And that's where the union should be. And they should be giving you the rights. But when the union becomes, it sounds totally, completely anti-union, which I'm not. But when a union becomes very, very fucking strong and thousands of people large, and they have all this fucking money, you start getting bad employees, and it's very difficult to get rid of them. And then that hurts the services that you do or the product that you're making. So I just wonder, the unionization as a whole is a good thing. 100% I believe in it. But I can see on the flip side how maybe why some people are apprehensive about it. You know, but something needs to happen, because these video game developers, from what I understand, don't always get a fair shake. Like you're saying, Jake, like you should have your name and a fucking credit in a game if you worked on that fucking game for at least a legitimate amount of time. Like, it's not like you got hired for a week and you fucking developed one texture and like you're like, this ain't for me. Like, you shouldn't expect to get credited for anything. But I think it's up to the studios. But the interesting thing here that Bruce is doing is almost as if the creator of the Seymour Duncan humbucker should be put in every album credit that humbucker's used on a guitar, you know, and be like, well, I created a humbucker, so this wouldn't exist in this way had I not made this tool that they ran with and made this album on. So I deserve kickback from every record sale that my humbucker was used on. Like, it just seems like a stretch. It seems ridiculous to me. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Bruce, though. I think honestly, I think a lot of this boils down to him just having some sort of personal ownership over The Last of Us. Yeah. He put blood, sweat, and tears into that game, just like everybody else that worked on it. And so he probably it's a little bit too close to him. And so whenever he makes this argument, it's just like, well, I'm a lot of the reason why that game is successful. I should have some sort of, I don't even know if it's necessarily about the kickback so much as it's about the crediting of the thing. But it's, well, he did bring up money in his quote. He did, which I think is sort of, you know, adds a little bit of a smudge on his argument, because it's just like, are you just trying to get paid for this? Because if that's the case, then okay, you know, fucking sue them. Right. But if you're actually trying to be an activist and make a deal for unions or whatever, you got to make a better argument than this, because it did, to me. Now, granted, I don't know all the ins and outs. I haven't looked at all the nuts and bolts of it, but it seems like a nonsensical argument to me. But then again, we're at a point in time where fucking video game and movie credits, like if you go to a movie and you sit through the credits, it's literally 20 minutes long. Yeah. Because they credit like the fucking finance guy that worked on the taxes for the dude that painted the fucking doorway in this one scene. Like, to me, that's insane. All right. And I'm not saying that person is not valuable to the creation of the product. Right. But at the same time, it's like, maybe we need to have like you know, I don't know, like a split. Like, these are the people that were creatively responsible for this thing happening,
And then here's a second list of credits that's like everyone that's name is attached to this product, period.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know that it's a really complicated scenario and like how do you do it or whatever, but it's, you know, if you've ever gone to a movie and you've ever complained about how fucking long the credits are because you want to see the little snippet after the credits in all these fucking Avengers movies, this is why. It's because of all of these rules, and I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm just saying that, like, in movies, because of all the unionization and the rules and the logic and everything like that, literally every single person that even, like, farted near this movie has to be credited for it.
The town mayor that allowed them to film the one shot in the local cafe is like, you can't do it unless I'm in the credits. I want to see my name on this movie somewhere. I'll let it happen.
So I don't know. We're being a little bit negative on it, but the thing is, the point of the matter is that in certain situations, I do believe that there needs to be, if not unionization, at least some sort of like rules, like industry-wide rules that are in place about how people are credited. Even something along the lines of like, you know, what is considered crunch. Yeah. Let's say. And I'm not saying that I'm not one of these people that thinks that, you know, you should expect to work a 40-hour week every week for your entire life if you're going to work in a creative field. I don't work in a creative field and I never work a 40-hour week. And would I be happier if I did? Sure, but a lot of times I work more than that because I want to. I have pride in what I'm doing and I want to get stuff done. And now I guess maybe that there is a bit of a disconnect there. You know, the people, like if you're in a job where you don't want to work at all and you don't want to work at that job, I can understand being like, I should only have to work 40 hours because my life will be better because of it. Right. But if you're getting, like, let's say you have to work 50 hours a week and you're putting that time in, but you're compensated fairly because even though you are working that extra time, then it shouldn't matter. Like, you know, if you're, I think that the thing that a lot of people forget about these, you know, quote unquote crunch culture is if you think about something like Naughty Dog, for example, the last few months of one of their games, they're crunching. They're working a lot of long hours and they're doing what they got to do to get the product out the door. But the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that at the end of the year, all those people get huge fucking bonuses. And on top of that, after the game launches, they all literally take like a month off. Like the studio fucking closes and they just don't work for like 3 to 4 weeks. So it's not like it's, you know, necessarily, I will admit there is a health aspect of it.
Oh, for sure.
As long as like these companies aren't forcing people to stress themselves into a hospital bed, then, you know, and I'm not even saying that they should be forced to work those hours, but there's often this thing where it's like people are, it's a, we should move on. We could talk about this for literally fucking hour. I don't want to talk about it.
It's a nice conversation piece. That's fine. I think you got your point across. It's what I think the point is that it's kind of complex, but it doesn't really 100% need to be if there are just some rules in place and some guidelines to follow that everyone can just agree on.
If it, like basically what it boils down to, if employees just showed a little bit more pride and effort, and if employers just cared a little bit less about money,
right, showed a little more respect.
I think that none of this would be a problem.
Yeah, very well said.
So
well said. Moving forward, let's get to another news point. This is kind of interesting, and geez, my pen's not right in here. Sorry about that. The DualSense. Sony does some weird shit. So it's probably only a matter of time until these super rare DualSense controllers hit the black market like eBay or whatever. But Sony apparently sent some employees a very rare exclusive DualSense controller that looks like the regular standard white controller, but on the grips where your palms would go, it has printed all these kind of colorful PlayStation buttons, like the square, triangle, cross, circle, and they're all kind of linked together, and they're full color, and they look it looks kind of snazzy. And then also on the controller, it says "Play has no limits." This is a super rare controller, but this got me thinking that, like, man, it would be really cool if you could just custom request controller skins from Sony, and they could just print them off. Clearly, they have the ability to do this, and then they just send them and for a premium, for a higher price, right? Because, like, they made this DualSense whatever, the special one. I forget what it's called, the DualSense Edge maybe or something. And then now we're getting camo skins and different colored skins of these controllers printed off, and then you can get them at the store for $10 more. They're a little fancier. And then I was like, man, I could get like a G.I. Joe controller. That'd be awesome. And then I was like, walked it back and thought, the reason they probably don't do this at all is because every single request that they get, they'd have to jump through all kinds of licensing hoops to print and sell to you. So, like, you can't, like, custom this shit with, like, your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh character, or like your favorite, even if it's like not a Sony owned property, or if it is a Sony owned property, like you can't do that. Like, so Sony can't print those and give them to you. Like, maybe you could have your initials put on it or something. But what's your opinion on this? Do you think that's the reason why they don't do this?
I mean, I'm sure like they can't print stuff with licensing on it. Like that's not a thing that can happen. But what they should do is they should make a custom controller shop like Xbox has, where you can literally go in there and you can order a DualSense, and all that they give you is they give you the ability to change what colors all the different pieces of plastic are on there. Mm-hmm. And maybe you could even get a decal, but it's like
a Sony owned property.
It's like it's like something they have defined, not something that you get to custom make.
Right.
Yeah, it could be like, I want the fucking sacred symbols all over the controller. Then that's an option for a skin, right? Or I want I want it to say, I want like the Last of Us across the touchpad or something. Like you can do that based on like IP that they own, or even like Bungie or something. But like, dude, Microsoft makes a fucking killing on that custom controller store, because like you go on there and you're like, you make a custom controller. It has all the colors, all the sticks, or the whatever you want, and all this stuff, and they charge you like $200 for it.
$200.
But dude, yeah, but it's awesome because you get the fucking whatever controller you want, like a controller that nobody else has, right? But they make it worth their while by charging you $150 or $200 for it. And
dude, that would be tempting, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you like make something like I would probably make something that looks like a PS. I'd make a controller. Color. Yeah, I'd do like a red and yellow controller or something. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, like I wouldn't. It's not something I'm not gonna have 10 fucking controllers, but I would do one just to have like a cool, unique, interesting controller that's something that I want. That's my color scheme or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I don't know.
That would be dope.
We're always like Sony is very much like Apple in that they're just like, no customization. Yeah. This is what you get, period. You get the white one, you get the black one. And now it's like, okay, after a while, we'll give you like the red one and the blue one.
And the purple one and the teal one.
And the purple one. But like, you got to wait for that.
And then
we'll give it to you reluctantly.
We'll make these really cool ones, but you can only get them if you buy the console edition with that game included.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, I am all about custom controllers. I think it would be so awesome if they had a store like Microsoft does, just to be able to make your own DualSense.
Yeah.
Shoot, even DualShock 4s, it'd be cool if you could do that, and it would be even cheaper because DualShock 4s are probably a dime a dozen now. So I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of games where I kind of wish there's a lot of times that I wish I was still playing with a DualShock 4. I'll be completely honest with you.
Not me.
The DualSense is, in my opinion, the DualSense is just, it's the ergonomically it fucks with my hands. So, a lot of people have this problem.
That's crazy.
It's not just me. It's pretty common that people have issues with like finger pain and stuff because of the shape of the DualSense and the size of it. So
I think it's perfect.
I think people with bigger hands, I don't think struggle with it as much. But so But anyway, that's a little bit of a digression.
Well,
that's my opinion.
That's a good conversation. I appreciate your input on that. I would also like to see some sort of customization on the PlayStation Store somehow to create your fucking controller and then create it and then be able to rotate it and look at it in 3D. That'd be fucking cool. Why not? Like you said, pay a little extra money for it. It'd be kind of neat. They'd make for nice birthday gifts or Christmas gifts. You know what I mean? Holiday gifts or something.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna charge $200 for a essentially a pro controller, like why not? If you could also pay $200, but instead of getting the pro version, you just get the regular DualSense, but it's the fucking custom job that you want.
Theme or layout.
It's got the cool colors and shit. You know, that would be awesome. And like you said, it'd be a perfect gift because a lot of people might not want to buy that for themselves, but like a spouse might buy it for their significant other or friends or parents to kids or something. Like I think that it's kind of a cool thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm always, to me that seems very it's a very consumer friendly thing to do. And I just wish that Sony would do a little bit more of this consumer friendly kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. All right, next news point moving forward here on PS This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast. We have, oh man, and I'm jacking up my notes here. The Witcher 3. This is an interesting twist that I didn't expect. There's going to be a PS5 disc version of The Witcher 3. It's getting a physical release next week, and I just think that's wild. It's crazy. It's hard to believe for me, just because the game has been out forever. But then again, we've hit probably a new generation of gamers that this can get into the hands of. And with the TV series still going, even though Henry Cavill's not going to be in it season 4 onward, and the success that the Netflix show's having, and then with them announcing the Witcher remake for the first Witcher is going to be full open world, probably not a bad idea. And you put it in a nice fancy new PS5 case, dude, it's a fucking smart play. I know a lot of people are anti-physical disc, but this didn't even cross my mind that this would be a thing that existed. I was like, oh, it's just an upgrade for the PS4 version. It's fine. Or you can just buy the digital PS5 version if you want. But to put it on disc, this game was wildly successful. So I guess in hindsight, it makes absolute sense to do this. I haven't went back to it since the last time I talked about it on the show, just because I got sucked into these other games. But God, The Witcher's fucking fantastic. It is so good. Jake, anything on that? Does that surprise you that they did this?
A little bit, I guess. I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't know why anyone releases physical games at all anymore.
Right.
But the one thing I want to know, and if anyone buys this and listens to the show, please write in. Does the disc have the fucking game on it? That's what I want to know. Or is it just a download code? Can you play it without the internet? That's what I want to know, because I want to kind of keep track a little bit of this trend, because there's going to be a point where, regardless of whether or not you have the physical version, you still need the internet to play the fucking game. So it's pretty kind of interesting to think about.
I want to ask this about it, because this is what I thought. This is where I thought you were going. When we bought The Witcher 3 and you opened up that fucking physical copy, there was a thank you postcard from the studio. There were stickers of the Wolf School. There was a download code for the game's entire soundtrack. And there was some other.
They're not gonna have any of that shit.
And there was some other cool thing, and it was like, wow, that alone made me want to buy it. When you told me it was awesome, when you opened that thing up, I was like, if this studio actually did all this cool shit, because with my releases, my albums and stuff, I always put in like little stickers and like try to do something kind of a personal touch to it. And it was just so cool that they had done that. I don't think I bought the physical copy of Cyberpunk, and I would like to know what that came with, just the regular Cyberpunk game. If the studio grew exponentially when The Witcher 3 was successful. So I wonder if they're continuing to give little thank you notes and stuff in there.
I doubt it. I think there would have been news coverage of that because every game now has nothing in it. It's literally just a plastic box with a fucking disc in it. So if CD Projekt had put a bunch of shit in the physical edition, there would have been some kind of a news article or something that said, like, look at all this stuff I got. Because that was the thing about The Witcher. Is
the regular
like,
Witcher game. Yeah, not the fucking collector's edition, just the regular fucking PS4 Witcher game.
Yeah, you pick up the box and it's like £5 because of all this shit that they put in there.
There was a map in there.
A map and a poster and all this stuff. Yeah, it was awesome. I guarantee you that this version is not going to have any of that stuff. It's literally just going to be a new box that says PS5 on it, and there's going to be nothing inside but the disc.
I hope you're
maybe
wrong, but you're probably
maybe like an ad for another game. Might be an ad for Cyberpunk in there.
Don't forget to play Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
I bet there might be a Netflix thing, like watch it on Netflix or something. Yeah, right.
Could be, yeah.
So predictable. I hope we're both wrong on that, though. I would love that they just fucking stuck to their guns and they continue to do that. That was so nice when that happened. Moving on to the next news point. We are an hour into the show at this point. This is crazy. What the hell we've been doing this whole time? We've been talking about. For listeners who are interested in Forspoken, there are some serious leaks on the internet, so be on guard. The issue here is that Square Enix did not send out review codes to the majority of outlets, only selected outlets. And now there are gameplay leaks from some of those selected outlets. They had early release codes. So we talked at length, Jake, about our experience with the demo, the playable demo, which did get a patch. The demo got a patch, mind you. But I don't think either of us were really sold on this game. And I'm really curious to see how this does when it releases on the 24th. So it's coming out this week. I'm really curious.
I liked it. I liked it. I was interested in it. I just the fucking character and the sidekick, they didn't shut up the whole fucking time I was playing the game.
Yeah, that was your big
That was the problem.
I hated the
Other
controls.
than that,
I hated the combat controls.
The controls were kind of meh. They could have definitely done with some remapping or whatever. But I feel like the game felt kind of like a cool concept. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It's not always a bad sign. It could just be that Square Enix is trying to pinch pennies and they're not sending all these. I doubt it's that.
And maybe it
might just be that
don't
like
want spoiled or something. Which is obviously too late for that because apparently the story is getting spoiled online right now. So
yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but I'm hoping that it's good. I mean, I never want a game to be bad.
No,
so
me either.
I'm hoping that it's good.
Yeah.
We'll have to see when it comes out though.
Totally. And I wanted to follow up real quick. And this is fan-fucking-tastic news. I wanted to follow up. There was some discussion about Gran Turismo 7 coming to PSVR 2, if it was going to be the whole game, parts of the game. It is, in fact, the entire game is going to be available on VR 2. And the only exception is that it will not feature the split-screen racing. Okay.
that makes
goes
sense.
without saying, like, right, who wants that in VR? But the online racing, the single player content, 100% VR2 supported, this changes a lot. I think that as a release for VR2, that's going to be huge. That's
sick. I mean, that's going to be fucking awesome. Like I said, I really hope they have a demo for this because these games are always like a try before you buy kind of thing for me. I'm just racing games. I like them, but I like them. I don't know. I need a demo. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I want to know that it's going to really put its hooks into me before I spend $70 on this game just to play it in VR. Because I know that by all accounts, all the preview coverage of VR2 says that the VR2 unit is awesome. And so both in comfort and in performance and immersion. So I am super stoked to play VR2. But the point of the matter is that no matter how good it is, it's not going to be my preferred platform of gaming.
Yeah.
So I'm going to want to play traditionally more than I'm going to want to play VR. So for me to want to spend, I'm not going to probably want to play Gran Turismo 7 traditionally. So Am I going to want to pay $70 for a VR game? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'd like to try it.
I just know that the last time I played Gran Turismo, I was able to find my car and race it. And that's the old 09 Toyota Yaris. And all I want to know is, can I spend $70 to virtually race my car on a racetrack? That's all I want.
They probably don't have the Yaris in it anymore.
I know. They probably
might. They might. I have no idea. That would be hilarious if they did.
Played by Ken, I think you have this game. Can you tell me if the 2009 or any version of the Yaris hatchback is available in Gran Turismo 7? Because if it is, I might pay $70 to drive the car that I own in real life. To drive the car I own in real life in a video game. So I'm just, it would be really fun though. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, there we go. Moving forward, this next one's kind of cool. I am excited about that. More VR news, obviously, because we're getting closer and closer to the release of the VR unit. PAVLOV, which is apparently one of the most, if not the most played VR shooter on a computer, on PC, has been announced as coming to PSVR 2. The game allows players to even drive a tank at some point. You can disarm bombs. You can use all kinds of different gunplay, different gun style, guns you can get. It even shows one player going prone. I don't know how this works in VR, but it looks wild. And the game appears not to be a PvP shooter, but a co-op shooter in which you're taking out zombies in different eras of different wars. So I don't know if you are part of an anti-zombie team during these major conflicts in U.S. history and you're just going in to take out zombies and the war's happening around you, or what's going on. But to play a game in VR, a shooter in co-op, where it's like, hey, grab that corner, I'm gonna go clear this room, you clear that room. That sounds awesome, actually, to me. And you fight bots. So I'm watching a trailer on Steam for PAVLOV VR, and I don't see zombies anywhere. So I don't. This is what
know
it
where that
says.
comes from.
That came from the Push Square article. Let me look it up now. PAVLOV.
I mean, maybe there's a new version of the game because it's still in early access on Steam.
So it's got a 9 out of 10 on Steam, a 4.5 out of 5 on MetaQuest. I guess that they did port this game for a lower res version on some of these. So I want to look into. It says PAVLOV VR on Steam. It says PAVLOV is a multiplayer shooter in VR with heavy focus on community features, realistic reloading features, and fast-paced combat as part of the core experience. Play the #1 most popular VR shooter on PC today. It's in early access, like you said, Jake. It says PAVLOV is a multiplayer shooter in VR with heavy focus on community set in both modern and World War II eras. You can choose a variety of weapons for the game how you want it. Community-hosted dedicated servers, quick starting, developing, hosted by Lobby System, Search and Destroy, Deathmatch, there is Deathmatch, King of the Hill, and Gun game modes, multi-crew, realistically operated tanks. So being in a tank with multiple people in VR would be fun. Like someone's the gunner, somebody's the cannon guy, someone's driving it. That'd be fucking dope. It says bots, offline mode, a practice range, kill house, proximity voice chat, radio communication, custom map support with mod kit. This is for the Steam version. Custom game mode support and BH haptics. It doesn't say anything about zombies. Go to the Push Square article about it. I didn't put a link on there, but it definitely talks about zombies, which is wild.
Maybe there's a new mode or something.
Yeah. Well, there's
because there are like, cause I'm looking at the Steam reviews and there are comments in here about zombies. So there must be like a mode or something like Call of Duty or something like that. I just love some of these.
It's an update. Apparently, the zombies isn't. How do you play PAVLOV zombies? It says zombies in VR.
Right.
So it must be an update that they offered.
Interesting.
But yeah, you can also fire 50 caliber weapons in the game, which is kind of interesting. So yeah,
I just want to. So cool. Here's what I want to know, because we haven't heard yet, unless we have, and I just don't remember. Is there a gun peripheral for VR2 yet? Even if it's just something you attach the controllers to.
I don't know. I don't know if there is, but what I can tell you is this: the way that those new controllers appear to work, and while it would be nice to have like a buttstock against your arm and stuff, I think that holding them like this and just holding your arms like this and doing this motion or whatever should be pretty pretty accurate because you're going to be able to move with a thumb trigger, right? Already, because you got the trigger, the analogs on your thumbs is an option, and you got like a trigger finger here or here. So maybe you move with this one and then you just trigger. Maybe you don't need the thing. That's why they made the thing to begin with, because there was no way to do locomotion with the move controllers and aim at the same time. So I think
they had the aim controller for the first PSVR, and that had and that had a stick on the rear grip that you could use to move around, but it was just you had a lot more stability with the controllers connected together so that you could do the aiming a little bit. I don't know. I'm just curious about that. I'm not sure if it would be better or worse or not. I don't know. But it's just something that I always find kind of interesting. It might be kind of hard to do the reload function if you have your two controllers kind of stuck together. If you have to like move the front controller to reload the weapon or whatever.
That's a good point.
But I don't know. I'd like to just try it and see, because this is the type of game that seems like it would be really fun, especially if you can play with friends or whatever.
Says the anti-multiplayer dude. No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, VR is a whole different thing, and I'm not saying that I'm going to get down with it, but it might be something that I'm
Dude, if you and I can jump in a fucking tank together, that would be so much fun. Like... Let's get some real world skills before World War III happens. Let's fucking learn how to drive a fucking tank.
That would be funny.
Oh, Jesus. All right. But that game looks cool. I'm glad that's coming to VR too. There's been the list of launch games for VR2 has just grown and grown and grown since the last time we talked about it. Maybe we'll bring it up in February and go over the games again one more time.
I did see we won't go into it now, but I don't know where it is, but I did see a graphic that was like 30 plus confirmed launch games for VR2, and it showed like all of these games, and one of them was Thumper. Just saying.
Oh, really?
So, like the original Thumper, not a Thumper 2.
But it's gonna work.
But they are porting it to VR2, which is cool.
Oh, I hope that comes with a free upgrade, man. Oh,
that'd be awesome.
I'd jump back in Thumper for sure. That game is so good. I wanted to platinum that game so bad. It's just not ever going to happen. But
it's real hard.
The game is great. Well, here's another question then. Because you didn't use move controllers with Thumper. So I wonder if you can use the DualSense controller with a VR headset. Or if you're completely...
I'm sure you can.
I don't know.
I'm sure you can use a controller. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to. I mean, I think that the VR controllers are the definitive way to do it, but I think that they probably support the DualSense.
You would think for a game like Thumper, you would have to.
Yeah, I'm sure there are games. Like, even if you think about, like, Gran Turismo, you have to be able to use something other than the fucking hand. You
got to use a controller for that, or a force feedback fucking wheel, dude. It's just fucking pedals. Yeah. I want a stick shift. I want it all, dude. Just put me in a fucking Yaris. No, I'm just kidding. Of all cars. Oh, shit. The clown car. All right. Let's... So this next one is kind of interesting. We've talked a bit. I've been talking about Kojima for a bit because I was all big on Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima, the dude who responsible for Metal Gear, separated from Konami, however you want to pronounce it, a while back, and he never, as far as I'm concerned, never finished the last Metal Gear game. We got an incomplete version of that game, and that's what Konami decided to release. The story was kind of left open, but there are rumors swirling right now about the possibility of a Metal Gear resurgence coming in the weeks to follow. The reason this is that the voice actor for Raiden, one of the characters in Metal Gear games, also in Metal Gear Rising, responded to a tweet just recently, quote, that said, quote, "Stay tuned for things to be announced in the coming weeks," end quote, when someone asked about Metal Gear. So there are some rumors. This is just the rumor mill here. Whether this is just in celebration of Metal Gear Rising turning 10 years old, or whether it is the anniversary, for that anniversary, or maybe Konami is going to port all these Metal Gear games to PS5, PS4. Who knows what they're going to do? But I mean, they have left so much money on the table by not doing anything with Metal Gear worthwhile, and this goes to show about the quality of game that Hideo Kojima can churn out with his creative imagination. And I'm not sure that everyone even fully understands what happened after the second Metal Gear. Like, if anyone even follows the story completely, it's so fucking wild. But he's a brilliant mind, and he made really cool games, and his games are very identifiable. Like, even the motions and stuff. Like, there's a scene in Death Stranding that was right out of Metal Gear where, like, if you complete one of the training missions of how to use a new gun, Norman Reedus' character walks onto this platform, and it just kind of slowly crops in on him, and he goes like this. He goes... and it's like so fucking Metal Gear. Like, he gives like a thumbs up, but it's very like fucking strong and like... and it's like, it's so like Kojima. He does that weird shit in all of his games, and it's like a Metal Gear thing. There's a lot of things. So if Metal Gear's coming back, don't re-release 5. Finish it and then give it to us. Like, don't re-release it as is.
That'd be awesome, but I think that's kind of pie in the sky. I could definitely see them maybe re-releasing Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Mm-hmm. I've heard people really like that game. I only played like it briefly. I think there was a demo for it or something on PS3, but I've heard people really liked it. So maybe they're going to re-release that. I don't know.
It was a PS3 game, I think. Yeah, I bought it. And I think I beat it. It was interesting. Nice. It was very much an action game. It was a little bit different than like your Metal Gear games, but it was cool. You play Raiden the whole time, I believe. So, which is like the ninja, the cyber ninja from Metal Gear. Very, very awesome. Next news point. We have a little bit of info about Hogwarts Legacy. Now, Jake, this isn't a spoiler, but we have some information that leaked. It's not spoiler in SAR's story or anything like that. Hogwarts Legacy had a minor leak. It was something to do with an art book that came out that detailed that the game to complete would be about 35 hours, but to be a completionist with the game, it would be about 70 hours. And then it also somehow indicated or inferred or straight out said that the game is going to have a 30 frames per second mode and a 60 FPS mode. So everybody can chill the fuck out. It's going to be able to be played at 60 frames per second, which is nice.
So they already kind of announced the frame rate thing, and it's 30 frames in fidelity mode and a targeted 60 frames in performance mode. So which means that it'll be 60 frames most of the time with some occasional dips here and there depending on, environment or whatever's going on or whatever. I don't know how you can possibly estimate game length based on a fucking art book, unless the art book literally says the game takes about 35 hours to beat and 70 hours if you want to be a completionist. Yeah. But I don't know. But to me, I mean, that length is pretty good. I don't want anything longer than that. So I think I'm happy with what they're saying here in terms of length, because like I said, that comes out the 10th, assuming I get on it right away. A couple weeks after that, 3 weeks after that, or 2 weeks after that is when VR comes out. So I'm going to be splitting my time with VR a little bit. So, I think that's an approachable game for what they're offering.
100%. Yeah. I like it. I like what I've seen. The next news point also is about frames per second and how games are running. And what I didn't realize before we jump right into this is about Atomic Heart, that game that's coming out soon, that first-person shooter kind of style game. What I didn't realize, I read somewhere that this is going to be kind of an open-world game. And that kind of struck me as strange. I read somewhere that, it's got an open-world format, and a lot of that is kind of explained about the graphical resolution of the game. So it's scheduled to release on February 21st. This game, Jake, to both you and I, looks cool. I think it's going to do well. It doesn't have a ton of coverage right now. I think the people who know and who seem attracted to the art style and what's going on in this game have been talking about it, but I don't think major, games media companies are really all over this thing. But whether it's because of
IGN just did a big preview.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And I watched a little bit of it, and they basically said that it boils down to like there's like 5 different areas.
Okay.
And I think maybe those areas are a little bit more open. So it's kind of got a little bit of like a
Sandboxy
Dishonored
kind of
style thing where it's, or like a, I guess you could say Arcane, because Deathloop was like this too, where it's like you've got these different areas that you go to as part of the game. And then when you're there, you kind of have your run of the place.
Yeah.
You do what you got to do to get where you need to go. But I don't know. I think the game looks really interesting. I'll probably check it out whenever it launches just to see. But I don't know. We'll have to see how. I think the preview coverage has been relatively positive on it, so we'll just have to see what the final game looks like.
And what you're saying is going to play right into the news point, because news point is that they are doing some interesting things to make sure they maintain 60 frames per second in this game. So they have a scaling graphical system that is actually going to scale down the graphics to keep it at 60 frames per second. I could see this working so long as there's like a cap that it won't allow the graphics to be reduced to past a certain point, right? Like you can reduce them to a certain point, but could you imagine a game that's so graphically intense that like when you hit some areas, like it just turns into polygons, because like, but it runs really good, and then it slowly builds.
I'm sure they're not gonna like turn it into Netflix where it's like you start watching it and then all of a sudden it's so fucking pixelated you can't see anything.
Yeah, but that would actually, honestly, would be a really cool game mechanic if you did it on purpose in a game. Like if you could do something like that to limit vision or stuff, that would be actually a pretty cool idea. But so they an article on PushSquare, I'm just going to quote it directly because I'm not good at explaining this stuff. This is straight from pushsquare.com. It says the graphical resolution of Atomic Heart will be changed on the fly to ensure it always runs at 60 frames per second. Developer Mundfish has revealed. Responding to a fan on Twitter, the team says that inside quote-unquote dungeons, the game will run at 4K 60. When you leave those closed environments for the open world, though, the resolution changes to be more dynamic, meaning it can't always guarantee a native 4K output. This feature only applies to the PS5 version. So I like what they're thinking here. Make it beautiful in 60 when you can, but don't ever sacrifice FPS for fidelity. And just let the game scale when it needs to. But just keep, you know what I mean? Make FPS the priority and have it be beautiful where you can do it. And then just, in the open world stuff, maybe dial it back a little bit. If the game can just intrinsically know how to display so that you can get a nice 60 and get all the benefits of the hardware when you can make it work, awesome. And when you can't, just dial it back so we don't have to keep flipping the slider on our game setting menu. I like this idea.
Yeah, I think that's it's not an uncommon practice, but I think it really depends on the I don't know if we know kind of the depth at which they're doing this. If it's just resolution scaling, I think that's relatively common for things like performance modes. But I don't know. I think that as long as the frame rate stays good, I don't really give a shit what it looks like. As long as it doesn't look, like you said, like it's not pixelated, looks fucking terrible.
You step outside and you can't make out anything. It's just like, what the fuck?
The game's already stylistic in its look. So it's not like it's photorealistic. You don't have to have these like, 8K textures and shit like that.
Right.
So I'm totally okay with them up and downing the resolution. As long as it never drops under 1080p, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
If it most of the time stays like around 1440p or whatever, I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah. I'm not savvy enough to understand the way that ray tracing and stuff works, but could you also implement, like, for instance, like you go into like one of these dungeons, as they call it, where it's a little more enclosed and they have more resources to pull from to make the fidelity better on the fly. Like I said earlier, like intrinsically, like just baked into the game, can you have it use ray tracing and then take it out when the system can't support it without having to flip a switch? Or is that something way more difficult to do?
I honestly don't know. To be honest, it could be something that's challenging, just because I've only ever seen it be something that you have to change in a menu.
Right.
So It's hard to say. I mean, it would be cool if they could dynamically do that, but it may be a problem because it actively changes things in the lighting engine, not necessarily just how many pixels are displayed.
Right.
So it could be more difficult than you think.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's probably difficult, but that would be like the best of both worlds, right? Just instead of having all these fucking options, just like give me 60 frames per second and make it look as good as possible no matter where I'm at in the game. And just you guys tell me instead of me picking. Like, you just fucking make it look as good as it possibly can look at 60, no matter where I'm at. Like, sometimes it might look a little better, sometimes it might look a little worse, but don't sacrifice the 60 frames per second. And having a mode that does that would be fucking awesome. So, I don't know, that's really pushing the resources in the console to the limit, right? That would be the definition of that. But there's got to be a way to do that dynamically. And if these developers can continue to, and they say in the tweet that this feature only applies to the PS5 version. I don't know if that's because the PS5 struggles or if PS5 is more flexible in being able to allow this. Maybe it's only required for the PS5 version because everything else can run at 60 frames at 4K with no problem. But they have to adapt for the PS5 because it's not as good. Or is it that everyone else is going to suffer, but the PS5, they were able to work in this this fucking loophole thing that we can get the best of both worlds? I don't know. They didn't explain it. It's curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's curious. All right. Last interesting story. And I am so confused about this. And we've talked about this game, and it completely flew off my radar. I forgot about it. Push Square had this ridiculous article, and I was like, shit, what happened to that? That game, Little Devil Inside, looked fucking rad. And here's the gist. Where is it? It just disappeared. It's off the face of the earth. What the hell happened? Push Square has this link, and they kind of like bring it up. And I was like, man, yeah, I completely, with all the game announcements, I forgot about this game. And this game was actually in a state of play for Sony in October 2021. And it had an announced 2022 release window. The developer NeoStream have been contacted by Push Square, and it's been 14 months since anybody's heard anything about this game. And there have been no news drops. There's been no new trailers. There's been no anything. And they didn't respond to the inquiries from Push Square. And it's been, quote unquote, radio silence from the studio. Apparently, though, this isn't new. This game, Little Devil Inside, started as a Kickstarter game and was fully funded in 2015. And it was fully funded to be a PS4 title. So they're at the very least 6 years into the development of this game. But the silence is concerning. This game looked really good, but we have learned in the video game industry that looks can be deceiving. And I feel bad for anybody who kickstarted this fucking thing 8 years ago. So
yeah, it's wild.
What do you think is going on with this? Because the trailer was rad and it looked like they had their shit together, and Sony had it on a state of play. But there's been nothing about it for 14 months.
This is one of those games where I'm just writing it off, throwing it in the fucking closet. And then if it comes out, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Because like you said, I think it looks cool, but it's kind of like on PS4. You remember that game Deep Down?
Yeah, dude.
Never came out, even though they showed shit about it multiple times. I'm not saying this is as bad as that, but it's been a long fucking time. So either this is like a shit or get on off the pot kind of thing. But for me, it's like, I don't know. I just, every time I forget about this game, every time it comes up, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that game. So like, I don't even really look into it too much because this game's either going to come out or it's not. And it's proven to me that there's no point in getting excited for it because it could be another year before we hear about this game again. So
dude, just go to neostream.com real quick. Go to neostream.com. And the graphics of this game just look fucking dope. It looks so cool. But it just says on the website, and this is probably how it's been forever, it has like the Windows logo, PlayStation, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. It says, thank you everyone for your valuable contributions. In time, this website will be updated with info from the development team, as well as general updates on what's happening inside the team. Prior to release, we will reconfirm your details and ask everyone to choose their preferred platform of your choice. This is for the Kickstarters, clearly. Everyone who backed this game.
Yeah.
But if you scroll down, there's like a pre-alpha trailer, but I don't understand what happened here. What happens if you go to the Kickstarter page? Like,
it probably doesn't exist anymore.
There's an update section that says platform announcement, June of 2020. Thank you all for your support and comments and responses to Little Devil Inside being included in the PlayStation PS5 reveal event yesterday. We're being flooded with inquiries and take care and effort to address all situations without affecting the rest of development. It says, with the partnership in place with PlayStation, Little Devil Inside will be coming to the PS5 as PlayStation timed exclusive, which means that the game will be available only on PlayStation 5 and no other consoles for a limited time, after which it will be available on other consoles. Unfortunately, we're not able to disclose the actual term of the exclusivity yet. As many of you, this is June of 2020, and it says, as many of you know, we originally hoped for an all-platform concurrent release, but for many reasons which we learned the hard way, this was just not possible. We also received direct inquiries where many of you are confused about how this affects the release for PC. This move does not affect our plans to release for PC, and we will do our very best to release for PC at the same time as PS5. So to clarify, release for PS5, PS4, and PC is our top priority, with other console platforms to follow after the exclusivity period expires. We'll be announcing further plans and details as they become unlocked. And it says there are many voices surrounding this decision, and we sincerely apologize to everyone affected, especially those who pledged in the belief that it will come to the platform of their preference concurrently. We will address all of them and handle each matter the best way we possibly can. With the reveal, the public response we're receiving is overwhelming, to say the least. The partnership and all the supportive voices has immensely amplified the level of energy within the team, and all of us are pumped to soldier on with a sense of duty that now goes far beyond just fulfilling our personal dreams. And it says, on another note, we've made a response to this on our Facebook page. It says, on another note, just like to address an issue that has come to our attention in the last 24 hours regarding a sensitive matter on the design of a particular character that was shown in the showcase trailer at the reveal event. We've made a response to this on our Facebook page. Not sure all of you are aware of it, so you can check it out. Once again, thank you for everything. There was a response. Wasn't there there was a character that maybe, was this the one that had like tribal paint or something, and it caused a big thing? Their Facebook page, the last update.
People are always fucking mad about something. I can't even remember what this is about.
June of 2020 was the last Facebook update. So it's been a good year and a half since anybody's heard from the studio, and it just disappeared. It was a Kickstarter staff pick. It sounds like people who backed it, who were Xbox gamers, were told initially when they pledged that they could pick the platform that they could get the game on, and then they signed an timed exclusivity deal with Sony, locking those people out of the date the game drops, and that probably caused a lot of friction. Dust was probably kicked up there. I don't know, man. It's just, this game looks so fucking cool, and it sounds like the developer now is in over their fucking heads, even though they partner with Sony. So maybe Sony is trying to buy the rights or something. Who knows? It's in, quote unquote, as far as I'm concerned, a developmental hell situation. So yeah, I don't know. It's a shame. It looks awesome.
It is a shame.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Little Devil Inside. If you were excited for that, like I was, I completely forgot about it. How excited I was about it. Yeah. Not going to happen until we hear otherwise. New games coming out. Not a lot, but some good ones. And I just wanted to share them with you like we always do. FORSPOKEN, January 24th. World War Z Aftermath DLC, coming January 24th. We talked about that on a show earlier. previous show. January 26th, Wonder Boy Anniversary Collection. And then January 27th, we're getting Dead Space Remake. So, nice little week. Not too many options, not too few. And that's about it for the show today. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Jake, as always, do you have anything at all you'd like to share with our listeners before you sign off?
Nope, I got work to do. So, and by work, I mean housework, not work. That comes tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm ready to roll.
All right. Well, make sure you watch The Last of Us tonight, and we'll talk about it tomorrow on our new YouTube series. P.S. This is The Last of Us. Make sure you tune in, listeners. So, like Neptunia Reverse, Nightmare Reaper, and Ninja Gaiden Sigma. P.S.
P.S.
This is awesome.
This is awesome.